What's up? So this is for April 22nd. So I did it again. Same mistake, different day. Coming into the day, we had liquidity on both sides. So we had these resting equal lows. Down here. And then we had last week's high. Up here, all-time highs stacked. Price was moving lower. We're respecting bullish order flow. But overall, I was just looking at both sides of the market, seeing stacked liquidity on both. So I was waiting for manipulation and then confirmation. And then I wanted to execute and not force anything. Early on, I didn't actually completely get that. There was no real manipulation into higher time frame liquidity, no clean refinement. Instead of accepting that, I just traded right away. So initially, let's get to 9:30. So at this point, NQ has obviously already taken last week's high. It puts in generated buy side up here, almost taking the high of yesterday. ES is obviously a lot more bearish, so I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, if we take this high, we have all this stacked liquidity down here that we could potentially go run. However, on the hourly chart, this is where you see us respect bullish PD array, right? And we're in a buy model. So write it open. We move higher. We take internal buy side. We are basically at OTE. We do not take buy side on ES. And then we close through the inverse fair value gap and through this change in the state, and we have resting sell side down here. So this is kind of the first thing that I was looking at. Although we had this 2-minute way down here, 3-minute down here, and then also this 5-minute. So honestly, the good read would have been to say, okay, there's a decent chance that we rebalance to these untapped fair value gaps when we actually displace through this. So now we get the close through the change in the state, but we are still holding bullish order flow. Price delivers really cleanly. We take out this internal sell side level, and basically on this same candle that we take that out is the 5-minute close, and that's when I take my first short. So here's the entry. It's once we've closed to the 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute candles, or inverse fair value gaps. Price has an SMT at the low. It's looking very bearish, bullish. We're holding bullish order flow, and I'm still short here. The entry would have been 1 minute after open, which it would have been much better entering there. But at this point, I was so glued on the liquidity that was resting lower that I was not able to flip any sort of bias. So I know that if we're going to move lower, we're going to respect this internal sell side, and we're going to deliver lower. That's not what happens. We end up delivering higher, and I get stopped out on this. Because I'm forcing against the higher time frame draw. Now here's where the real issues, I believe, start. So this is my second trade. We have rebalanced to the 5-minute. We have internal manipulation. We've swept that high. Now it wasn't the higher time frame highs. It wasn't an external high. We almost deliver to my target. However, price takes the internal sell side again, leaving stacked lows, and then we reverse. So once price got to 50% of my targeted range, I moved my stop up to a quarter. Once we got to 75% of my targeted range, I moved it to break even. So this ended up getting stopped at break even. And this was proper management. I saw internal manipulation. We closed through those inverse candles, and it got delivery. It was just it didn't deliver fully. You see, it missed it by 4 points. So there was that. But after this is where things started to change. This is where the day should have ended. It was where I said I would log off in my pre-market plan, but I didn't. I went short again here, zoomed into the 5-second chart, and at that point, I'm not trading. I was just reacting here. So now I'm down again. We're starting to, it looks like we're inversing the 5-minute. Then we don't, because this is not actual model. Now, longs were right here because we're setting up all this buy side in the morning, and we move lower to manipulate. Now we're filling that inverse for value gap, although we haven't broken that on the 1 minute that we see. However, at this point, this is not trading anymore. The market was showing bullish structure. I wasn't reading it anymore. I was not a referee. I was just playing on a team, which was the bear side, basically. So I did my routine. I had a confirmed draw, but I didn't wait for the model to present. I managed the second trade correctly once I was in it, but the biggest issue and the most important thing for me recently is I did not stop after my trade limit, so the result, again, makes sense. So moving forward, it's simple. Without clear manipulation, I don't trade. If I take 2 losses, I gotta get off. And I stopped trying to drop down to lower time frames to force entries, because discipline isn't built on good days. It's built on days like this where even if you're confident, you just get the fuck off if you take 2 losses.